Hear Hardy and Michael Ford are coming. Ellen Wilkinson, the red flag, she is humming. We get around not as much as Dominic Cummings, even though he's driving blind. We are the Labour grassroots, where like-minded folk dwell. From countryside to city, it's warm and it's witty, the antidote to Pretty Patel. We are the Labour grassroots, time to raise a racket. The future is as bright as Crispin's red jacket. This is the space where we all go hell for leather, free from all the biased BBC blether. Like track and trace, we're better together, just as Carrie and Meg. Yeah, we got all the people from Inverness, Skegness, Barrow, Inverness, Chester, Leicester, Cirencester, Shrewsbury, Oswald Street, Swansea, Perneckley, Barnsley, Beccles, Nottingham and Eccles. We are the Labour grassroots, time to plant some grass, where we've always had social distancing between us and the upper class.
I'd like one person who supported Owen Smith to come onto the stage, and one person who supported Jeremy Corbyn to come onto the stage. This, up in the air, look. Put your hand up in the air. That, right, take. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And you can all sing along if you like with this one, if you know the words. Right. Welcome to Labour Grassroots, where we're going to unite the party. So who's up for a bit of uniting? Well, maybe not as many people as I thought might, because we've actually got some bad news, which is that in a survey that we carried out of 800 people, as you can see, 61% said that the party was more divided than it's ever been, and as you can see just there on the right, there's a 0% with a 1 in it, and that means that only one person of 832 people thought that the party was actually united. And I did speculate if that was Keir Starmer, but apparently it was David Osler, and he sent a message to me to tell me. So I'm now going to find out what Labour members across the country think, because that's quite disturbing news. So the first person I'm going to speak to is up in the northeast, in northwest Durham constituency, and she was pretty pessimistic in her view. Vonni, are you there?
I am, yeah.
So do you think that the Labour Party can unite?
I think it's going to take a miracle.
Why do you think what do you think the problems are that makes it need a miracle?
Well, I had a think, and I got it down to 3 reasons. So the personalities of people wanting to be in charge. There's lots and lots and lots of little factions. I tested myself. I did a list and thought of all the little groups I could think of in the Labour Party, and I gave up when I got to 75.
Oh.
So, you know, and all of those little groups have all of their own personalities. They have all got people that want to be in charge and have that little bit of power in their little pond. That's what I kind of view it as. I view it as lots and lots and lots of little ponds, all with their own big fish in. Those little ponds need to unite and become an ocean. But that means some of the big fish will no longer be big fish. And I think there's a lot of people out there on both sides of the party. This isn't a factional thing. This is just, I think, I looked at it in a very realistic way. I think there's a lot of people don't want to give up the little bit of power that they have. And I think they may totally believe in the reasons for the way that they are and what they believe. They may 100% believe in that. But unless we can make all those little ponds become an ocean, we're never going to unite. And that, you know, and I think that comes, again, partly through personality, but also through ideology. When I was writing down the names of the factions that I could think of, I was thinking some of these factions and some of these interest groups and some of these lobby groups are like diametrically opposed in what they believe. You know, they are absolutely in opposition. So how can we change what those people believe to get to somewhere in the middle? Is it a compromise thing like we do in the union movement where, you know, you get to a point where where everyone's lost a little bit, but everyone's kind of broadly happy? And I thought, well, in some things, yes. In other things, probably not. And then I thought about what I've experienced locally, what you see on social media every day, and it's the culture. It's so unkind. There is so much unkindness from all wings of the party. I'm not even going to say both because it's not just both. As I said, I got to 75 and kind of gave up, and I'm sure there'll be more than that. You know, people just are being really horrible to each other. It is a culture of fear as well, where people don't want to say what they think. They don't want to share their opinions. There's that culture of fear over if you share something pro-Palestine, will someone screenshot it because you've phrased something the wrong way? I know that that's a common perception. So there's a culture of unkindness and fear as well. So I am quite pessimistic. I'm not ready to give up yet because I'm an optimist, which makes it sound really strange after I've said all that. The reason I'm still in the party is because I haven't quite given up yet. But I think the challenge ahead of us needs a miracle, and it needs people to put aside their personalities and their egos and actually focus on getting rid of the Tories, because that is the real enemy.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on and being first. Will you stay to the end? Because I'd like to hear what you think after you've heard everyone else as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. And I'd like to bring in David, who's in Lichfield. What do you think? Your answers were similarly that there's not really much chance of uniting. Why do you think that?
Because I can only speak from the experience of my CLP and the years I've been in. I've only been a member just over 4 years, and I only joined because of Jeremy Corbyn, not for the personality, but for what he stood for and what he wanted to bring into the manifesto. But we've lost several good, strong socialists who've left the CLP because at every turn, the controlling group, centre-right, stop work. We can't pass any motions of support for anybody like Chris Williamson, anybody, and they bring the rule book out, and I don't know the rule book, so you have to believe what they say, and I just don't think it'll work. While they've got the left will always toe the line and help to unite, but I don't think the right will. The right never have.
You're still a member?
Just. If I'm not kicked out.
Do you feel that your hope is ebbing away with this sort of division and
yes?
So
yeah, it started ebbing away on the 13th of December.
Right. Well, will you come back? Will you stay and we'll talk to you at the end of the discussion, see what you think then?
Yeah, no problem.
Because this might be one of the most healing sessions that's ever been conducted in a Labour Party discussion. So we'll come back to you later. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to bring in Sharon, who's a councillor in Birmingham.
Hello.
Sharon.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You're very busy. Thank you for coming on. So what's your view on the party being divided? I mean, you must have noticed that there's bickering and arguments and factions, but how do you keep going as a councillor and as a member?
Yes, there is bickering, fractions all across the place. I think the turning point for me, and I think I've been a Labour Party member for over a decade, and that's a long time for some and a short time for others. And the turning point for me really was when Jo Cox got murdered, because she was standing up for what she believed in. And it didn't matter what part or what fraction of the party you was from. We all hurt and we all felt that, and we was all torn apart because of that. So my principle has really been that I'm not prepared to get into bickering and arguments with my colleagues if I don't have to, over, you know, some of you know, where we are on the spectrum of the Labour Party. We are the Labour Party. I went on the Joe Cox programme. I was lucky to go on that programme and meet some amazing women from across the country. And it really was the emphasis of more in common. And ever since I've done that, if I'm completely honest, I've tried to take that kind of ethos as much as possible. It's not always possible because we don't always agree because we're humans, but I'd rather fight the Tories than fight my own. So I think one of the things for me, I'm really passionate about homelessness and addressing homelessness. And everybody knows that, who knows me very well. So I'm constantly going around talking to people across the country about homelessness, what we need to do to fight the Tories on it, why this was a political decision that they made, and also what austerity has done to the country. That's what I want to talk about. And it doesn't matter whether I get invited to something from a group that's, whether it was the Leicester left or whether it was a group that was moderate. I'm coming to talk to you about homelessness because as a Labour Party movement, that's what we need to address, because that's what people out there really, really need from us, is to help us to address some of these issues on a local level as much as possible with the Tory government, and then fight to try and bring together a national one. I do think that sometimes we're like a unconventional family that doesn't always get on. And I think that we gift the Tories when we're constantly fighting and bickering in public and on social media. They love it. They absolutely love it. And it's the one thing that you've seen over the recent years, that the Tories have had their problems, their fights between moving from Theresa May to Boris, is that they rarely fight in public. So for me, I tried not as much as possible to get into that kind of frame of mind, because if I did, my job's hard enough as it is, trying to be a cabinet member in the middle of austerity, and that's depressing as much as it is anyway. So if I did take all of the internal stuff on, I'd lose my mind, to be quite frank. So I hope we can bring some level of unity, but I don't think it really matters whether it's who the leader is. It's down to the individual members, whether we've got that willingness to pull together as much as possible. So that's what I think.
Well, that's really good for you to come on, and you're right that we do have to focus on what unites us. But you can kind of identify with what David was saying about how there were people who block others in the party. I mean, how have you dealt with that yourself? When you must have had that at some point.
So I've been a councillor for 6 years. So I was here before Jeremy Corbyn became the leader of the party. When he was, I voted for him. I then argued the toss about not bullying your leader and all the rest of it. And to be honest with you, I've had bad experiences with both sides, and I've had good experiences with both sides, and both sides try to say I'm on the other side. So, you know, we are people.
Well, thank you, Sharon.
No problem.
Cheers. And I've got Linda on the call, and she is in West Ham. You there, Linda?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Good, okay.
So you think it's possible to unite the party?
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. I have to remind you, you did say that.
I think I said it was the most disunited it's ever been as well.
You did say that too.
Yeah.
But you said it's possible to unite it. What was your idea for that? Why you think how we can unite it?
Well, I don't think I'm very coherent on that yet. I think I said it because I would like it to happen. It would be my dream, but a lot of things would have to change. And I think because of the current strange situation, we're almost in a sort of limbo land. And it's really hard to see what's going to happen when Parliament returns and we get into some proper action. But I think I feel generally pessimistic. I mean, I've been in the Labour Party since 1965. And I would say that I was already on the left. I I don't know why, but by the age of 15, I would say I was already a socialist, and my beliefs have never changed. And I've been in the Labour Party all those years, and I think that it's just so awful now. And I think it is I agree with most of what Vonni said, but I do think it is a left-right split. Absolutely, there may be many factions, there may be many shades, and maybe all of the factions on the left don't get on together, but I think essentially it is a left-right split. I think it's those of us that are socialists and those of us that aren't. I think there's a lot of people in the Labour Party who would admit themselves they're not socialists, and I think that's our essential problem, and it always has been. I mean, I was a socialist from the beginning, and I've had to campaign and fight for and canvass for and be a member of my local council for 8 years, when essentially I've not agreed with the leadership's philosophy and ideology, but I've always stayed in the Labour Party and been an activist and been a councillor, because I've had that opportunity to do things that have been socialist. And I think when I was a member of Newham Council in the 80s and 90s, we very much, as Sharon was promoting, we focused on a manifesto that we developed before the 1986 election. And while developing that manifesto involved lots of screaming and shouting at each other and a lot of, you know, robust arguments, once that manifesto was agreed, once we were on the council, despite our ideological differences, we worked together to implement those policies, strategies and practices. So why I think we're more disunited than ever, I don't think that happens now. When I look at Newham Council now, it is so horrendous. There's no focus on policy or trying to do anything particularly positive. It's all about slogans and rah-rah, and the officers run the council. Really, there's very little politics anymore, certainly in comparison to my experience as a politician. And it is very much left-right. I think that, you know, I'm trying to work out why Jeremy attracted such hatred and venom, and I think it's because he was absolutely upfront about being a socialist and what he believed in. And I think that the right in the party, despite having been in control, apart from a brief moment with Michael Foot, you know, the right have been in control of the party for a long time. And we've complied and we've canvassed and we've campaigned and we've worked to have a Labour council or a Labour government and then get on with it. But once the left were in control for the first time, the right absolutely hated it. They were not prepared to work with us. They were not prepared to support the majority of the membership and the fact that we'd elected Jeremy to be our leader. And I think that the behaviour of particularly of the CLP members who had that awful meeting in 2016 and decided to one at a time, you know.
The PLP, you know.
A PLP, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, resign from their shadow ministerial positions. I think they should have all been thrown out of the party. And I think if we'd have had a stronger party that had accepted the leadership and worked together, I have no concept of why those people like Margaret Hodge and Hilary Benn and all of those other people that led that, I think they are a disgrace to the party and to the movement. You know, we're supposed to be a broad church, and I think those on the left have accepted a broad church for decades and decades and decades. We may have been working underneath, you know, to try and promote socialist policies, and I think in many ways we were successful, you know, in short measure. But once we were in control, the right went ballistic and have behaved so appallingly. They lost us the 2017 election, and that is unforgivable. To have Tony Blair, to have other leading Labour politicians who were in power for 13 bloody years, during which equality got worse, child poverty got worse, and to criticise Jeremy and the way they did, it was shocking, and I will never forgive them and I will never get over it. So, you know, that sounds like I'm saying that unity
So
is
you're
not.
actually saying that in a way it's very difficult for you to see how you could be united.
Well, as I said, I find it quite hard to think that through coherently at the moment because we're in this peculiar environment and, you know, nothing's really operating properly. You know, Keir Starmer's behaviour is, you know, I think is even worse than I'd imagined, but...
All right, look, I really
Anyway,
appreciate
so,
you coming on, and thank you very much for coming on. I'm just aware there's loads more people. It's very.
And I'm not going to be able to stay till the end because it's my partner's birthday, and I promised him that I'd reappear.
I hope he hasn't depressed you, and it doesn't go out onto your partner's birthday. I hope he has a good birthday.
I'll stay for a bit, thanks.
And Pauline Taylor, are you there?
Hi, hello.
What's your view on this? Because as I see it, you're similar in a way to what Linda was saying, in that you don't feel that the way the party behaved in 2017 towards Jeremy's campaign has made it easy for unity to exist. Is that right?
Yeah. I became a Labour member after the 2017 general election because, you know, I was infused by Jeremy Corbyn, and also I was infused by the CLP that I joined up with, and it was an exciting time. And then, you know, as time went on, we lost the general election in 2019. We were all devastated, of course, and as time went on, I learnt to cope with the reasons that were coming out of why that happened. But the thing that I couldn't cope with was the fact about the leaked report. I was devastated because it was the first time I'd been out knocking on doors, and I'd put money in, I'd put my time in, I was passionate, and, you know, there was a lot of abuse on the door as well. And to think that there were these people that had undermined everything about 2017 general election, which we could have won, I just felt so angry. And I know there's lots of people feeling angry about this, and it stops me moving forward. It seems to me that there's no honest or open communication, and that's nationally, and I feel that's trickled down to our CLPs, because, you know, Vonni was saying at the beginning about, you know, we've got these little power bubbles or empire builders, which is what I'd like to call, and I just feel that it's trickled down. People are angry, and it's creating all these factions. So for me, and I think, you know, when I look at some of the people that have left, strong activists have left our CLP, this is one of the main reasons, was the leaked report and the allegations surrounding it. So I want some justice before I can move on. And justice for me it's not about economic justice, it's about social justice. So that could be like a police investigation, it could be changing something in the rule book, it could be some form of change where this never ever happens again, because it stops me following the new leadership. I'm on the brink of leaving, and I know a lot of people in the CLP are happy to carry on, they want to get behind the new leader, and then there's the other group who just want some form of justice. That's where I am.
Did you submit a response to the Ford inquiry?
No, I didn't. I did think about it, but I just didn't know how to.
Well, it's quite a long way to wait, isn't it? Because apparently it's the end of the year before we'll get the results of that. So I don't know if that's a bad idea that it's such a long delay, but I can see where you're coming from. I'm sure everyone can. I feel very angry about the leak, and it does tarnish the party and make people feel that it's not fair system that we're in, that it's a rigged system. But thank you very much for your contribution, and I am going to move on to Michael in Warwick and Leamington CLP.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, are you someone else who's got a prepared speech?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
It's only a minute and a half.
Okay. Well,
You want to
that's
keep
fine.
it?
That's fine. I just like a little bit of eye contact now and then. Can you just look up every now and
Oh,
then
yes.
while you're doing it?
I am looking up now, aren't I? Am I
Yeah,
looking
here
up
you are.
now?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
thank
good.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
But I will read some of it. My memory is not as good as it used to be, so please.
No, I understand.
Many years ago, I joined the Labour Party to change the world. Now, many of our people, the homeless, sweatshop workers, people with disabilities, asylum seekers, and many others, are suffering from years of Tory austerity and misrule. What can we do about it? Well, the main thing we can do is to win the next election. And how are we going to win the next election? We have to unite. We may not like it, and all sorts of personal views, we've got to unite. So please, everybody's got to do this. We've got to dissolve the factions, however much you're entrenched. We've got to reject the dogmas that are out of date. Particularly, we've got to overcome the egos. Several people have mentioned that. There's too many egos around. We have elected our leadership, whether you like them or not. We have a shadow cabinet that's bristling with talent. We have an exciting new cohort of BAME MPs. What more could you want? Tomorrow morning, I want you to look in the mirror and say aloud, I am a member of the Labour Party. Say it 10 times with conviction. Although we're diverse, we must unite. If we unite, we can win the election, and then we can change the world. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you very much for coming on. And I'm going to bring on Stephen Cowan. Now you're what you've been doing at Hammersmith and Fulham Council as the leader of the council since 2014 is unite the party around campaigns, especially. I mean, not just the local election campaign, but other campaigns. Do you think that's the key to keeping the party together?
Yeah.
Or what else do you think we can do to keep the party together?
I think fundamentally that is the only option. I mean, people talk about all sorts of splits and factions, but if you look around the world at the first past the post voting system, it always produces two parties: a conservative party of sorts and a progressive party of sorts. Whether that's the Democrats in the United States, where you've got a party ranging from sort of essentially left-wing conservatives in the Democrats all the way through to radical socialists like Bernie Sanders. You know, it's a very broad church there, and that's a consequence. And if you don't have proportional representation, which is I'm not advocating for, by the way, but if you don't have it, where you get lots of different parties like socialists and Greens and social democrats and liberals, social liberals, all popping up, and they then try and form a government. So whether we like it or lump it, the Labour Party is the most progressive force for change of the last 100 years. Its only way it's going to get into power is to be united. And I think that is fundamental, that we all do that, because I mean, tonight I was watching TV, BBC News, and there was a woman in Rother Valley of all places who was saying why she was very happy with how the Conservatives are doing, having voted for them last time and having been a lifelong Labour voter. So we have to unite, otherwise we give the 21st century to the Conservatives. And that means everything we hate and everything we fear happening, the Conservatives will do to us and our children and our grandchildren for the rest of this century. So it's self-indulgent to do anything other than unite, and we just have to do that. Now, in part, that's one of the reasons why we're united in Hammersmith and Fulham. You know, the first Hammersmith and Fulham Council was famously known as Cameron's favourite council. It was known as a greenhouse for for radical conservative policies. They offered to sell, they started to sell council estates. So I had thousands of residents coming to see me, terrified that their homes were being sold from underneath them at a property conference in the south of France. And we campaigned against it, but there was nothing I could do as the opposition leader to stop it. And then they agreed to sell off our hospital and close Charing Cross Hospital and sign up to the biggest hospital closure programme in London's history. And again, we worked very closely with people in opposition, people from the SWP, all the way through to Liberals. We built a huge community campaign and we all united around that. But there was nothing I could do to stop it as the leader of the opposition. And everyone knew how tough it was for us in Hammersmith and Fulham, and were as shocked when the Labour Party at the time wrote us off and said we could never win it. Fulham is a very posh place, and Hammersmith and Fulham, you can't buy a house for less than £1 million. So it's very, you know, the Labour Party said you're just never going to win there. But we put together a campaign, and winning elections is a difficult thing to do. You know, it's, I think Mario Cuomo said, I'm going to misquote him here, you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose or something. But there's a lot of skill to knowing how to campaign. We campaigned against the council that had popularly cut council tax every election since it'd been in office and ran on a law and order issue. So what do you do in that scenario? So we did campaign that we too would cut council tax. And that would have made us look very right-wing. And we campaigned that, I went to the person who later became the chair of Momentum, who at the time was the teachers union, and I said, we're not going to attack free schools. And he was like, why? And I was like, because a lot of parents are sending their kids to them, and if we do that, it'll be a reason that we have a high negative and we lose votes. And he went, okay, as long as you kick them out of office. So we were able to build an alliance by having a proper conversation about what the campaign would do, and we reassured a lot of people we'd be safe. And we ran a very forthright campaign, standing up for our hospital and council homes and for lots of other things.
Can I just come in here? Sorry, I just thought what somebody you just said about working with the head of Momentum. I mean, the fact that you were in conversation with people from different areas of the party, and you said from the SWP as well, that is something that may well be lacking at the moment with the leadership. Is maybe the leadership isn't engaging all sides of the party in that kind of discussion that you're talking about.
Look, I think the leadership's very new and we've got to unite. You know, I think there's an existential threat to the Labour Party, and if we don't, I mean, the party looks like it's in a serious trouble in Scotland, possibly finished in Scotland. In what we used to call the red wall seats, it's in serious trouble. And we have to bring it back. It's our generational responsibility to bequeath the next generation a vibrant Labour Party capable of winning elections and bringing about change. My point was going to be this. I mean, Momentum didn't exist then. I mean, you know, Den was the chair of the teachers.
Similar.
But because it was 2014. But my point is this, if you looked at how we ran for office, yes, we were trying to save our hospital and do other things, but you might well have said, well, these people are on the right of the Labour Party. They're saying they're going to cut council tax, and they're saying they support free schools. What the hell are these people standing for? But we then got into office, and if you look at our record, you know, we're the only council to introduce free breakfast for all school children. We brought back in a direct service organisation, which is one of the most left-wing things a council can do. We hired Michael Mansfield QC and ran an audacious campaign to save our hospital, which the government capitulated in March 2019. And so we stopped the biggest hospital closure programme in London's history. We're the only council in the country to abolish home care charges, therefore delivering finally on Clem Attlee's promise of a cradle-to-grave NHS. We're the only council in Britain to send social workers into refugee camps to directly rescue children. And we sued the government on that issue. A very left-wing thing to do. We lost, but we still were fundamental to bringing over about 400 refugee children. I think we're the most radical operation in the country. So my point is this, is when you're campaigning for votes, you have to make people feel safe, and that shouldn't make Labour Party members in any way feel disenfranchised. But when you get into office, you have to have a radical agenda for change. And that's why we've remained united. And that's indeed why we maintain the support of people like in the SWP throughout, even because we're doing such a radical programme of government once in office. But you have got to get in office before you can do those radical things. I mean, we collapsed the share price of a major company who bought one of our council estates. We hired private detectives to track them around the world, and we forced them to sell the estates, and then did a secret back-to-back deal with the people they sold them to sell on the estates immediately to us within 3 minutes of exchanging contracts with the new buyer. So these are the type of things Labour does when it gets into office, but you've got to get into office first. And I think I can't say enough when I look at my kids and their future, how worried I am for the future of not just this country, but for socialism and social democracy around the world. Because if we can't win elections, then we're letting down everybody who relies on us to try and do that.
Okay, look, I've got to move on, Steve, because there's so many others. But thank you very much for coming on. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Crispin.
And it's a lot of work. You've got to do a lot of work to get the Tories out, and we can't really do that if we're arguing amongst ourselves. Is that kind of?
Absolutely, but it is working. Look, you know what? I've got a printer at home, colour printer at home. If I want to drop letters to a road to say what I've done or what we've done, what's coming up, we can write a letter, 50 people, post it through letterboxes, and you can do that anywhere as a Labour activist. I would say, if there's a local issue that you want to take up, by all means, that's probably a simple thing to do. Yeah, you won't even if you can't get the money off your CLP to pay for it, you can do it yourself. But it is always, it's being there. It's knowing that everywhere's got, well, most places have got a Labour representative. Yeah, I'm thinking of Robert Evans who is for a long time the only Labour councillor in Surrey County.
We can fight everywhere for Labour and make a difference in our communities, and we just got to. You were like one of the first people I met in a Labour meeting, and you just sort of, you're focused on how you can help the community, and you've never really got involved in the factional stuff.
No, I didn't vote for Corbyn.
I'm summing you up now, Tony, because I've got to move on.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, but look, I congratulate you, Crispin, on what you're doing, and you're bringing people together. And I'm looking, we're down to 168 viewers at the moment. But no, I congratulate you on what you're doing and what you have done, and keep on doing it, my friend, because you're bringing us together and you're exchanging ideas, even with, gobbies like me,
Well, thank you, Tony.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure.
Now, I'm going to bring in Mark from the Isle of Wight.
Hello.
So we had your comrade from the Isle of Wight last week, so we're getting lots of Isle of Wight now.
Yeah, sure, Julian.
What's your view on uniting? You said that we should, in your answer to the survey, you said we should unite behind certain policies, and then we could all get together on it.
I think the left does have to be about policy, and I think whatever people's criticisms and suspicions of Sharma, it still holds true that his leadership campaign pledge to put the Green New Deal at the heart of everything we do can be as electorally strategic as it is morally necessary. I mean, this isn't the late 90s. We have to win back voters that thought that Brexit would return a sense of control to their lives. And I think we have to be bold in terms of the economic offer that we give them. We can't match Johnson's offer on the nationalism, and we'd lose more voters than we gained by doing that too. So we do need a bold economic offer to them that devolves power away from Westminster, and the kind of parts of our voter base that would normally be most reticent towards a bold economic offer have become more engaged with the potentially existential threat to our civilization that climate crisis poses, and so are maybe more likely to buy into that bold economic radicalism than previously. And we shouldn't underestimate ourselves. Those that have rallied engagement to the radical economic platform that Labour put forward over the past few years, we're much stronger and more demanding than we have been in the past. I mean, if you look across our sister parties across Europe, it's clear that any nominally left governing voter coalition must contain an explicitly radical element. We have first past the post, and that makes things different, but it's clear the Labour Party needs those voters. Sharma needs those voters. They won't just automatically turn out for Labour. So yeah, I think that sort of radical green devolution of economic and political power has to be the rallying point to unite across the party and beyond. And in terms of what's effective for the left to do in the party, keep it about policy, keep calling for Sharma and his team to engage with a programme of providing regular policy formulation updates that speak to the 10 pledges of his leadership campaign. I mean, I don't know whether he intends to implement those in government, whether he's going about it the right way if he does intend to, but all we can do is try and hold him to that. If he implements those 10 pledges in government, the spirit of those 10 pledges, if he doesn't weasel out and try and stick to the words but not the spirit of it, then I'll be more than happy.
Thank you for joining us. Your dog's still asleep there. You've done well.
Bertie.
And I'm going to bring in Kush. What do you think about what you've heard so far about those people who've been quite upset by the feeling that they have been betrayed by certain parts of the party? Do you understand they might feel that way?
I completely feel the same way. I feel like we have been betrayed by the right in the party, and you can see from the kind of the leaked report that, you know, clearly there was a lot of sabotage going on. So I completely agree with that. I just feel that if it comes to a choice between either fighting the Tories at an election or fighting against ourselves, and I'd rather fight the Tories and kind of not forgive but work alongside the other people in the party who we might not agree with for the greater good.
Right, and where were you based?
I'm based in Edgware in North London.
All right, and so have you stood for Labour as a councillor, or have you?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've considered getting. I've only recently joined as a member of earlier on to vote in the leadership election recently, but no, I haven't gotten involved. But I think we definitely need to stay and fight. I think if anything, the people who want us out of the party, they want us to leave. They want us to give up and go away. But I think we've got to stay in and fight and carry on what we've been fighting for, which is socialism and social justice. For, you know, to give up and to leave now would undo all the work that we've achieved in the last 5 years. We need, as a country, we need a strong Labour Party to stand up for people. So I think we need to realise that that's the common goal, and whether we agree with or disagree with others in the party, we need to all come together and do that. And for example, what Jeremy Corbyn is doing, Jeremy Corbyn hasn't left the party and said that Sharma isn't a socialist, I'm leaving, I'm off. You know, he's stayed within the party. He hasn't undermined the leadership, but he's continued to fight for socialism, promote socialist ideas, and, you know, fight for things he believes in. I think we should follow his lead and do exactly that, and kind of fight from within and kind of try and push the party towards the left, but at the same time make sure that we have in clear focus that the Tories are the enemy, and if our chance comes to get the Tories out, we have to take it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
Mark in Workington. Mark, you've been around the party for quite a while. How have you dealt with the sort of divisions and factionism? You must have seen quite a lot of that.
Yeah, I've always considered myself just a member of the Labour Party. I've never been a part of any faction, and I've always been left of centre. And I listened to Vonni, and I was it was almost my not my CLP, but a lot of the northeastern CLPs have always been seen as sort of fiefdoms of my daughter. I've got a daughter who's 26, a twin daughter, and she called it male, pale and stale dad. And I sort of looked at her and I thought, at least I've got a bit of a suntan. But and that unkindness is around, in social media, where people are putting stuff on social media that they wouldn't say to people's faces, and that's a real issue for me. I think the left in itself has been sometimes too dogmatic and inflexible. The right, it doesn't know what it wants, other than it just doesn't want the left in any way, shape or form. And because certainly when Jeremy got in, the real careers were at stake, weren't they? Those right-wing MPs, you could see them almost caught in the headlights because their careers were really at stake. And I'm just sort of waiting. I think somebody said about the rule book. When you start to quote the rule book, which has been quoted at us a long time, you've lost. I always think that you've lost the argument. That's what that always means to me. But I'm still waiting here for Keir Starmer to lead and show us what we can unite around, because the people I've always fought against have been the Tories. I've never fought against my own party members. I've disagreed with them, but then we've got up and walked out of a meeting and had a pint. But the leak was really, really sickening for me, unbelievably sickening for me, and that has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed by Keir Starmer. So we can unite, but for God's sake, Keir Starmer, tell us what we're going to unite around. Now, if it's your 10 points, and if it's the Green New Deal, then both left and right can unite around that. But for God's sake, bloody start leading, and then we might be able to unite. And that's where I am. I really am frustrated.
Well, thank you, Mark. Monika?
Yes, hi. Yes, I've been in the Labour Party now over 30 years. I belong to North Islington constituency. And through that time, we've had ups and downs. We've lost the council, we've got it back. As you know, we've got Jeremy as an MP. He's now moved on and he's doing a good job in food banks and community gardens. He's moved on, and I think we all should move on. I'd like to say that, you know, it's a real shame because we are one of the biggest parties in Europe. Now, in my professional life, I've worked in war-torn areas with people who have killed each other, basically. And also whether that's been in South Africa or Sierra Leone, or been involved with refugees and from Rwanda. And they've all had to heal, and they've all had to get together for the sake of the country and their children. And I just suggest we need to do the same. It's ridiculous to spend our time, you know, witch hunting, worrying about points of order on small pieces of paper. And I think I've learnt a lot during the lockdown. I've been a coordinator of a mutual aid group, and we brought together the community very successfully through helping each other as neighbours, dog walking, putting a community garden project together. And yes, people are not all the same, that's true. And I think we need to actually start healing, start talking to each other instead of lighting each other on social media. I mean, I'm very much in the Michelle Obama place, saying that we need to, you know, when they go low, we need to go high. And lots of people are spending their time going low and slagging everybody off. And it's totally destructive. And I'd like to say, look, if other countries who've gone through terrible things, and such as, you know, in South Africa, in Rwanda, Sierra Leone, can do it and get together and move forward, I think it's about time we did.
Oh, that's a really good message. Thank you very much, Monika. Now I'm going to move back now to Vonni, can I go back on what some of the things I picked up there?
Yeah.
One was the two-party system means that we can't really not have support for the Progressive Party. The second point was that there are far worse divisions going on in the world, which was just said, and that does put it in context. Some of these points of order in meetings are just not significant next to that. Yeah. And the other issue was that we have communities that need us. So if we're not actually out there doing anything, then we're letting them down. So in the context of that, I put it back to you.
I think for the 156 now people on this call, that's probably a fair message, that we probably can take something away from this. However, I'm thinking of, I was a CLP secretary in Northwest Durham for 2 years, and I tried to do everything that's been recommended about uniting, being open, listening, trying to encourage discussion, and other people chose not to engage in that. One thing I think, for the miracle to occur and everyone and us to move forward, because I totally agree with most of the points that have been made, both optimistic and pessimistic, is that people need to make that decision themselves. I'm not going anywhere. Like I said at the start, I'm at the moment I'm staying because I am an optimist, and I do. I mean, I'm a teacher. I'm an activist with the National Education Union, which isn't affiliated. And we have factions in the National Education Union, but we don't have these problems. So it's a trade union, left-wing trade union movement where we don't have these issues to this extent. Everyone can unite behind campaigns. We've just done it. We've just done it with the A-level results and the algorithm. We can win if we unite. You know, we can. Last night I was standing in Newcastle city centre with loads of students who were still protesting because it's still not right. You know, we facilitate that sort of thing. But we need to be able to unite as a Labour movement to do that, as the Labour Party, because in the two-party system, you're quite correct. It's us or the Tories. And as long as it's the Tories, then life for the everyday person is going to get worse. Can we do it? I still don't know. I still don't know. I would like to believe that we could, but my experience says it will need that miracle still. I can't see an easy way to do it unless we can convince, what is there, like nearly 600,000 of us? Can we convince those 600,000 members to do the same?
All right, well, you look a tiny bit better, for like a couple of percent more.
Yeah, maybe 2%.
Right, well, I'm going to ask David now, who was at the beginning of the show. David?
Hello.
Do you feel any better for that, or do you feel worse?
Neither, really. I mean, I agree we have to unite, and I'm not against uniting, but maybe they should have united 4 years ago. That's what really riles me, because the right deliberately undermined and lost us in election. But now we've got to forget all that, and we've got to work hard to get them elected. And that really does. I'll not leave the party yet. I want to have my penny's worth at my CLP. But we've done everything they said. We were doing it 3 or 4 years ago. We were having market stalls. Our branch, not our CLP. Our CLP didn't want to know. But our branch, we went out to different places in the constituency that we covered, and we were having different things. We sent out a newsletter. We sent out a questionnaire and collected it. You know, so we have been doing that. Because that's what Jeremy wanted anyway. We were doing what Jeremy Corbyn said. Build from the community up. You know, but to be honest, I don't think we can. I really don't think. I'd like to believe we can, but I don't think we can, personally.
So it's been a complete waste of time, this whole show.
No, it hasn't. It's a fact that I've seen a lot.
I'm joking, but it would be good if you could come back on next week. Would you come on next week?
I can come on next week, yeah.
And I'll see if you feel any better next week. Yeah?
All right.
I think part of the whole thing is actually being together and talking, whether it's being positive or negative, just knowing that there's other people. And
well, that's right. That's right. You know, we've still got a little group in our CLP and we meet up socially. Like, well, we've just started because obviously the lockdown, you know, and it's nice to meet them and talk. We're like-minded people, and I know that might be like an echo chamber, you know, because we all believe in everybody having a free education, a free house over there, you know, and from education and health from cradle to grave. And I can't see what's so radical about that. It's just human right, you know. And
yeah. Well, look, you seem even better now. I think you've gone up.
Yeah. Oh, that's some great speakers, though.
I think I'll leave it there while we're winning.
Daisy likes red onions, Darryl likes goat's cheese, Dowgett likes chorizo, Dermot likes no cheese, Dan likes extra garlic, Debs likes broccoli, Dev likes oregano, and everyone agrees. Everyone likes pizza, everyone likes pizza. No one likes the Tories, but everyone likes pizza. Yeah, everyone likes pizza. Ollie likes black olives, Ruby likes red wine, Hal green jalapenos, Rosie's rosé wine, Moisha likes his mushrooms, Tony Benn likes tea, Harvey likes his milkshakes, everyone agrees. Everyone likes pizza, everyone likes pizza. No one likes the Tories, but everyone likes pizza. No one likes the Tories, but everyone likes pizza. Sweeter might like sweet corn, Pammy might like ham, Billy might have chili, Jezza might have jam, Peter might pick peppers, Angie anchovy, Becky pepperoni, and everyone agrees. Everyone likes pizza, everyone likes pizza. No one likes the Tories, but everyone likes pizza. No one likes the Tories, but everyone likes pizza. Opinions are debated on finer points like capers. Should they be regulated or just renationalised? Is pineapple acceptable if it's sliced or chopped? Is a pizza still a pizza? Whatever goes on top. But everyone likes pizza, everyone likes pizza. No one likes the Tories, but everyone likes pizza. Everyone likes pizza, everyone likes pizza. No one likes the Tories, but everyone likes pizza.